The Clever Rabbit. Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there lived a clever rabbit named Rosie. Rosie was known far and wide for her quick thinking and clever tricks. However, nearby in the same forest, there lived a cunning fox named Felix, who was always plotting and scheming to catch his next meal. One sunny morning, as Rosie hopped through the forest in search of juicy carrots, she noticed Felix lurking behind a bush, his sly eyes fixed upon her. Rosie knew she had to outsmart him if she wanted to stay out of his clutches. With a mischievous grin, Rosie approached Felix and said, "Oh, Mr. Fox, I've heard that there's a grand feast happening at the other side of the forest. All the animals will be there, enjoying delicious food and dancing the night away." Felix's ears perked up at the mention of a feast. He couldn't resist the thought of a scrumptious meal. "Tell me more, Rosie," he urged, his tail swishing eagerly. "Well," continued Rosie, pretending to think, "the only way to get an invitation is to prove your skills by performing a special dance. Only the most talented creatures will be invited." Felix's eyes gleamed with excitement. He thought his cunning ways and sly moves would surely impress the hosts of the feast. "Lead the way, Rosie!" he exclaimed, ready to showcase his skills. Rosie led Felix deep into the forest until they reached a clearing where a large tree stump served as a makeshift stage. Rosie hopped onto the stump and said, "All right, Felix, show us your finest dance moves." The cunning fox began to twirl and spin, attempting to impress Rosie and win his ticket to the grand feast. Unbeknownst to Felix, Rosie had quietly invited all the other animals from the forest to watch the performance. As Felix danced, the animals couldn't help but burst into laughter. His moves were clumsy and comical, far from the grace and elegance he imagined. Even Rosie couldn't help but giggle at the sight. Feeling embarrassed and defeated, Felix slinks away into the shadows. From that day on, he never bothered Rosie again, for he knew she was too clever to be fooled by his tricks. And so, Rosie the clever rabbit continued to outsmart other forest creatures, bringing laughter and joy to the animals of the forest. The cunning fox learned his lesson and realized that sometimes, it's better to be honest and genuine rather than rely on trickery. And they all lived happily ever after, in a forest filled with friendship and laughter.